So there are indirect effects as well. These are called metabotropic effects. There's another kind of indirect effect that requires an enzyme. That's not as common. So like I said, neurotransmitters, there are many classes of neurotransmitters. Most of them are going to be based on amino acids of some type. So many of them are like polypeptides or chains of amino acids. Some are, very long chains of amino acids. There's so many different types of neurotransmitters. Some are single amino acids. Okay, some are even gases like nitric oxide. So they're going to have different effects depending on the chemical type. But don't worry about enzyme-mediated indirect effect. Just know that there are indirect effects. Don't cause something to happen immediately. It usually takes some time. So it's going to affect one thing, that's going to affect another thing, that's then going to open a channel. Okay, so in the case of what's that?
Kind of like a time release.
Similar to time release, yes. It's when something needs to take a longer time in the body. It's an indirect effect. So it's kind of like, you could think of it as time release. That's actually a good metaphor in a way. So for example, dopamine, a lot of indirect effects of dopamine. It's gonna attach itself to a receptor site which is sensitive to dopamine. That's going to activate a protein, which is going to activate a pretty complicated biochemical cascade of events. Yeah, I'm not teaching you all that. It's a biochemistry class or some other class. But it's going to cause events which are going to require energy. So you're going to see it's going to require ATP or energy. That energy is going to then be integral in the process of the energy is part of the process of causing the channel to open. So this process requires energy or metabotropic. Metabo meaning energy, tropos meaning change. So the change that's required, or the change to open up that channel, is going to require some energy expenditure. So what happens is the neurotransmitter comes down, it binds with the site on the postsynaptic cell, that causes a cascade of events which require energy, that causes the channel to open. So that's not direct, it's indirect. So do you all understand direct and indirect effects? You understand the basic difference between them? Okay, we'll look at why you need them later, but you all get it. Any questions? Yes? Okay, metabotropic. Just know that the word metabo means energy. Tropic means change. So the receptor is going to, once the receptor on the postsynaptic cell encounters a neurotransmitter, it's going to cause a series of events that affect different proteins in the cell, but that whole cascade of events to open one channel is going to require the expenditure of some energy. So that process of opening the channel is energy consuming. Are you with me? This is one of the other many reasons why the brain requires so much energy. We hear about how the brain requires energy. We've seen many reasons already. We've seen the metabotropic effect. We've seen the fact that, you need to maintain things like the blood-brain barrier. That's a whole other story. But we've also seen like the process of even signal transmission just requires a lot of energy, right? Having abundance or a lot of sodium-potassium pumps on the neuron requires a lot of energy. All these processes require a lot of energy. So we've seen many examples in class of why the brain requires so much energy.
So they both open up, one opens right away and one requires a domino effect.
Yeah, basically a domino effect. That's right. Yeah, and that domino effect doesn't just happen. It requires energy. Yeah, without energy, it's not going to happen.